London Riots is a song that I wrote on the evening of the London Riots a couple of years ago, and I will never forget that evening, obviously, because it was such a big thing to happen in London and in England. I'll never forget that night. I was in the studio having a rehearsal with John Turnham and John Martinelli, who at the time played in my live band, and we're jamming some of the Josh Beech and the John songs and some other like covers or whatever, I don't exactly remember, and I started playing this riff, and which was the original intro to London Riots when I first wrote it, and we all vibed it, and we just carried on jamming, and it sounded cool, and the old riff was like dun, da, 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 da. I can't remember, but it sounded kind of John Mayer and John Martinelli and myself and John Turnham like John Mayer, so we were like, this is cool, so we carried on jamming it. And then while we were jamming, one of my bestest friends, Ashi Washi, called me up and was like, dude, like, look on your phone, there's riots happening in London, and they're about to come to Bromley, like they're going through South London. There's footage of Lewisham and Catford on television right now, and we were like, no way, we've got to go and check this out, like see what's going on. We're all Bromley lads, so it's like we've got to see what's going on. And we got in the car. Ash turned up at the studio with our other friend H-Man, and we got in a car. I think, if I remember rightly, I think it was like a really ridiculously small Ford KA, which I guess H-Man was driving at the time. Got to Lewisham and had the windows down, and you could just hear all this cheering and screaming and bangs and police sirens. And we're like, well, this is it. And 2 minutes later, we're literally in the thick of it, and we were like, shit, we are now actually in the middle of the London Riots for no reason at all, except for the fact we're stupid and curious. So we pretty quickly got out of that situation, and went back to the studio, and couldn't believe it really. And we had like 30 minutes left in the Escape Suite in Bromley, in our little practice studio, and continued with what was to then be called London Riots. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what's going to happen? Like, how far is this going to go? And then that melody came to my head, the how many roads will come crumbling down, just came into my head, and that obviously stayed. And after that day, I continued to work on the song, work on the rest of the lyrics, and then I guess a year after that, Ollie Som became a big part of the project Beech, and me and him started doing everything together, and we reworked that song, and he put his touch to it and completed it really, and now it's out, and you guys get to hear it, and it sounds the way it does, but it all comes from that one night of the London Riots, which is, it's kind of crazy really. But I'm really excited about this right now as well, because I am a million miles away. I mean, I'm actually not a million miles away. What it feels like is I'm a million miles away from that day and from London right now. I'm in Los Angeles, but I'm gonna play the song London Riots in its purest form, which is just me with an acoustic guitar. So how many roads will come crumbling down when you say it now, for crying out loud? On these broken strings I'm playing right now, say it out loud. 'Cause I've heard these words before, and I'll hear them all again. I will count upon my hands as you walk towards my door. So how many roads will come crumbling down when you say crying out loud, I'm my way home, I'm my way home. Say what, when, how. Say it out loud. So you've got to wake up, fight this feeling. So you've got to wake up, fight this feeling. So hold your head up high when you're down, 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 down. So hold your head up high when you're down. So how many roads will come crumbling down when you say it now? For crying out loud, I'm my way home, I'm my way home. Say what, when, how. Say, yeah, yeah.